Hello and welcome to my Facebook page today. I'm Danielle Burnock from danielleburnock.com. Love yourself from Survive to Thrive, that lady on the internet who loves you. And today I am so excited to share someone with you that I met on Clubhouse when I was going in to see if there was something to join, because you know how I deal with trauma a lot, and I don't find a whole lot of that on Clubhouse. And I went on there this one day, and there was this room on A.C.E.s. And I got so excited, I jumped in there. I missed almost all of it, but it was in that room where I met my guest today, Dr. Torie Williams, also known as Dr. VicTORIEus. I love that. And she has her doctorate in education, from Chicago State University, and she's going to share some of her story of what she has struggled with and how she is passionate to help other people overcome A.C.E.s and help you understand what A.C.E.s is, because some people know and some people don't. And so stay tuned. I'll bring her right in. Welcome, Torie. Thank you for joining me today. I'm so excited to have you here today. I was telling the people how I was so excited to find you on Clubhouse. I went on there, I finally found something kind of in my wheelhouse on there, dealing with trauma, dealing with A.C.E.s, and thank you for joining me today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, to start with, why don't you share a little bit of when did you first hear about the term A.C.E.s, or when or how did you hear that term, and then how did that lead from hearing that to you doing your dissertation on it?
So I had never actually heard of A.C.E.s until I started doing research. I have been a researcher since high school. I love science, and so I just started researching different things. And it became an issue as far as education is concerned, because we have a lot of students with adverse childhood experiences. So I want to say I heard it the first time actually in the educational sector. But I was so interested after I found out what it was, I started doing my research about it. And when I knew for a fact I was going to get my doctorate. Everybody that knows me, and they know that getting my doctorate was a big thing. My undergraduate degree was in psychology, so it all actually plays a part. And my dissertation chair, shout out to Dr. Young So, she said, find something that you're passionate about, find something that you're interested in, find something that you can research. And I've always had questions about family. I've always had questions about a lot of things, but I'll be honest, in the African American community, it's not asking questions, it's pray on it and take it to church and be okay with it. And I was never really okay with some of the things that happened as I grew up. And so as I started doing research, I ran into adverse childhood experiences and decided to do my dissertation topic on it, because I actually am what we call goal getter, not only a goal getter, but a cycle breaker, someone that breaks the cycle of the things that happens to them in childhood. So I did that by getting involved in extracurricular activity. My parents, I love them to death. My mom and dad will spend their last dime to get me involved in something, whether it was learning the piano, performing with the Kansas City Marching Cobras, going to the Boys and Girls Club.
Wow.
I was always involved in something. So I thank my parents for that.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can you explain to people what an A.C.E.s score is? There's a test that people can take, right, to find out if this applies to them and stuff. And can you talk about the A.C.E.s score and your score, and tell a little bit of your story of what are the adverse childhood experiences that have happened to in your life and affected you?
Well, let me start off by introducing adverse childhood experiences. What it is there was a study given in 1998 by Robert Anda and Andrew Fleety. Andrew Fleety, I believe, actually had a weight loss camp. And what happened was people would lose weight, but then they would come back. And granted, he was getting money and it was cool, but he had a lot of questions as to why they were coming back. And when he started asking questions, he found out that the experiences in childhood would get them to, re-eat and, relive the experiences. So he paired up with Robert Anda. They paired up with the CDC, the Center for Disease Center, the same center that gives us information about COVID-19. They paired up with them and did this huge case study in 1998. And that's how adverse childhood experiences were born. As far as adverse childhood experiences for me, I love my parents. My parents are awesome. My father, his mother passed away when he was 16 years old. So very traumatic experience. He was the oldest son. He had other siblings. So he has 3 brothers and 4 sisters that pretty much had to raise themselves based upon the fact that their mother passed away at a young age. My father decided to go to the military, and going to the military at 16 back in the 60s was a normal thing. But again, there was no existence of our childhood experiences at that time. Childhood trauma was what it is, and it is what it still is, but nonetheless. As far as my mom, her mother abandoned her when she was younger. So she was raised by several women. Rest in peace to my grandfather, who I love dearly. He was a pastor. However, he wanted to provide a family for my mother and her siblings, but running into the several women in marriages and things of that caused some experiences from some uncomfortable experiences for my mom. So I was always interested in that, and I always had questions. And it was like, to this day, it's like I'm still asking questions to my family in regards to things that have happened. So that's how I got involved and got interested in adverse childhood experiences, because I also started noticing that other people had the same thing going on. So it was interesting for me to dig in and research and find out exactly what it is and how I could help.
So what are some of the examples of adverse childhood experiences that are like on the test? And can you talk about the test a little bit?
Okay, so there is a test. Now, I will say this test is very outdated.
Yes,
I would love to work with anybody. I know that Philadelphia did an A.C.E.s, like a revised A.C.E.s study, but I would love to work with Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris. Anybody that's interested, trust and believe me, I'm a research freak. So let me know what they want to do, because I think it definitely needs to be revised. So let me throw that shout out right there. Let's get this revision, because there are things like cyberbullying, bullying, those type of things actually really need to be added to the test. But nonetheless, there's a test. There is an extensive test of 33 questions that Robert Anda and Andrew Felitti gave. And then there's the 10 questions that are on the internet. You can go to Google and type A.C.E.s survey or A.C.E.s test and find this test. And from this test, they give you a score. They give you a score of 1 through 10. I will share with you and let you know my score is a 4, which is not, that's average. But trust and believe me, I have met people that have had a 5 and above. The 5 and above, or really what they say is anything after 3, there are health impairments, there are health issues. It can really impact you. We know the effects of stress, we know the effects of trauma, but do we really know the effects of trauma and how much it has on us? And so that's where I dived right in, because I wanted to know exactly what was going on. So yeah, my 4 is small comparison to some of the people that I've met that have had 9s, 10s, things of that nature. And so yeah, it's real. My whole goal is just to make sure that I educate as many people as possible on exactly what it is and how they can get help in regards to finding out how to receive services after they get their test score. So yes, I'm going to keep doing this until I cannot do it anymore.
What are some examples of an adverse childhood experience that someone would not consider to be on the test, that they wouldn't think it was obvious? They would think that it was just normal. Something like divorce is something that isn't generally listed as a trauma. So what could you help the people understand something that they might be going, oh, I don't have that. And then you go, well, do you have this? Or do you have this? Give some examples.
There are, when you think of ACEs, everyone always talks about the physical abuse or the mental abuse, but divorce is a big one. We're talking about emotional neglect. We're talking about child neglect. We're talking about growing up in a household with incarcerated parents, incarcerated siblings. We're talking about, for me, honestly, as much as I love my parents actually did. I was born into ACEs thanks to them, but my parents divorced, and that actually had a huge impact on our entire family. Again, I love my parents to death, but not only did I qualify for ACEs, I qualified twice based on the fact that they had a divorce. People don't think that divorce has an impact. Yes, it does. It really does, because of the separation of the parents. So you have parental separation. You also have, one of the big ones that we have is for someone to see a sibling seeing their parents being abused. Not them, but parents. So that's also qualifies in the ACE questionnaire and ACE study. So they ask so many questions in the 10-question survey. They ask you, were you abused as a child? Were your parents abused as a child? Have you witnessed your mother going through some type of emotional abuse? Have you witnessed someone in your household going through, anything? So there are so many different categories. There are 3 different categories, and those 3 categories are the ones that help you decide which one is ACEs and which one is not. So it actually will break it down for you. But there are people out there that are not aware of ACEs and don't know.
Right.
That's the reason why my goal is to just continue to educate and let people know that the experience that we experienced when we were younger are actually real. And it was childhood trauma for us. A lot of us have blocked that off based on the fact that that's just, a normal response. But the reality is we actually need to get help and address it and talk about it.
Right, like you had said in your community that it wasn't talked about, it was like go pray on it and stuff. That's actually more common than people admit. Right. I mean, I didn't talk about anything like that growing up. We didn't talk about anything. My parents were emotionally unavailable a lot, and that was due to the trauma in their life. And that's where we get into the generational thing, when people don't have to give what the child needs. That's why we need to be proactive to try and work on that. So if we improve every generation, if we work on it.
I mean, and it's just easy. It's not as easy though. Like, so say for example, you have the uncles or aunts that have molested their nieces and nephews. You don't have those discussions, but that's childhood trauma.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Those are the things that we don't talk about, but child molestation is real. It happens, and it happens from family members. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, well, we really can't talk about it because, you don't want to put your uncle out there or your auntie out there. But the reality is it happens. It happens to siblings. It happens to stepsisters. It happens to stepbrothers and things of that nature. And so, I've actually watched it. I've grown up, seeing it happen and saying, oh, okay, well, we can't say nothing because we were told not to say anything. But the reality is it's adverse childhood experiences. It is.
Oh, yeah. Statistics say that 60% of kids that were molested as child, that they'd never told anyone.
And they
didn't even tell anyone. And then there are those that speak up and aren't believed, and those that are dismissed, and other ones say, don't, like you said, don't tell. And it's like, it's a huge thing. And so, yeah, there's so much that can happen and go wrong in a child's life. And so it's so important for us to be aware of things and to be proactive in ways and to love.
You're right.
The love, like you were telling me about a circumstance you had today at school. You loved that kid. You reached out in love is what you did. And he felt that. And so he received that from you because love heals.
It does. And that's the thing. That's why it's so important to address these childhood experiences, not hide them. We might be able to help someone else. And that's what I'm learning. I honestly, before Clubhouse, wasn't a Clubhouse fan. Don't get me wrong. I like Clubhouse, but I saw a lot of people on Clubhouse just, had all this experience, did all this stuff, and it's like, no, let's use this as a safe space for people to address their childhood experiences, because we don't have that. And the fact that people might not want to talk about it on TV, people might not want to talk about it in a podcast, people may not want to share those experiences. But when you hear somebody else sharing their experience, it's like, oh my God, I'm not by myself. I'm actually, there's someone else out there that has experienced the same thing or did the
That's
same
so important. That's
thing. And
so important. That's what got me into what I'm doing. And I released my first book and
yeah,
people responded in that way. You
yeah,
felt like that?
yeah.
I'm not alone. It's like, we have to make it be, people be aware that no, you are not alone. This is so much more prevalent. In fact, in some of my research, I read it. It's like I had to read it over and over again because it was appalling. Childhood trauma is common.
It is.
I mean, that's appalling to read. It's appalling that it's true. You know, it's just, it's so sad. So it's like, we're on a mission to stop this, aware this, heal this, whatever we can do to be a part of the solution instead of the problem. So, so after you learned all of this, what is it that you did to heal your trauma from the adverse childhood experience, or how did you reclaim your life or take ownership of your life, or what is it that you became proactive? What did you do? How did you respond?
So I will honestly say, and I'm always going to say honestly say, so shout out to my people because I'm honest all the time, let's be clear.
We all have little words we say all the time.
Yeah. I was and am a first generation high school graduate. My parents didn't graduate from high school. And so I value my parents a lot. And one of the first things my father said was, graduate and don't get pregnant. I'm like, okay, what's next? You know what I mean? So it was like just listening to him. The crazy thing is I went to school to get my bachelor's degree in psychology, really couldn't do anything with it. My first job was working at a hospital as a housekeeping supervisor because my dad was a housekeeping supervisor. You know what I mean? So I really didn't have that direction and guidance as far as healing. I just wanted to follow in their footsteps and continue to ask questions. And so it was more of a self-healing for me and self-gratification for me to continue to achieve the goals that my parents wanted me to achieve. You know what I mean? And lead by example. So as much as I wanted to run away from teaching, actually get back into teaching. And so,
it sounds like how you dealt with it, to reframe it in like a simpler way, is, for me anyways, is you're like, I found myself here.
Yeah.
I'm not staying there.
Yeah.
I'm not staying here. We're finding a way out of this. And that's how I healed too. It's like how I put it was, I got to where I am today by refusing to stay where I was.
Right.
It's not
and
like
so the crazy
out or anything. I just not staying here.
Yes. And so my father was like, once I graduated from high school, I am actually born and raised in Kansas City, and I love Kansas City. Shout out to my Kansas City people. But that was my exit out. You know what I mean? I did not want to continue to live like how I was living. And so graduating from high school was the first thing. And then I graduated from college.
You did it you call yourself a cycle breaker, but how I put it in my terms is you have a warrior mindset.
Yes.
You have a warrior mindset. You're like waving a flag of freedom. I'm going. Yes. Who's coming with me?
Because I know that there's other things outside of Kansas City. You know what I mean? So when I went to college, it was like, oh my God, I went to college. I found my way into Chicago. Shout out to Kansas City, because we would always go to Chicago for the summer to do the Bud Billiken Parade with the Kansas City Marching Colors. So I would always go there. I have a whole bunch of family there. Shout out to my family in Chicago. But I stayed in Chicago for 20 years, loved it. Like Chicago is what made me. And so the healing, all of that, I wanted to find myself. I wanted to find direction. And I knew that I wanted to go back to school to get my degree. So I actually got married, had my first kid. That's my MBA. My second kid was my Master's of Art in Teaching. And my third kid was my doctorate. So I have three.
Were they your celebration? This is my gift to
every time.
Myself.
Every time. So I have 3 girls, 4 or 5 degrees. I just love one of my closest friends, her name is Serene Thomas. She was like, I mean, you've been in school forever. I have. I am a lifelong learner because I have questions. I'm a researcher. And as a doctor, that is what it is. Instead of asking questions, I wanted to find out myself. So I always knew I was going back. So as far as answering the questions, let me answer the question. It was really like how you said, the go-getter mindset. Like, I know that there's something better out there for me. And now being a mentor, I'm leading by example. Shout out to all of my mentees. It's a bunch of them out there across the world, from family members to students. I still talk to like 95% of them, you know what I mean? So I just lead by example, and that's what it is. It's not just college. I have some that went to college, I have some that didn't, you know what I mean? So it's like, at the end of the day, just continuing to be a role model and leading by example is how I heal, because that self-gratification lets me know that what I did was right. And when I watch somebody else do that, that helps me feel better too. So every day I take a chance at my own self-healing just by witnessing and watching others heal.
Awesome. And so would you say that it's easier for people to take ownership and heal in their life if they use the term A.C.E.s instead of the term trauma?
Ooh. Yes, and I'm gonna tell you why. Trauma sounds harsh. Experiences, trauma. Experiences, trauma. And I always tell people we have to live and learn by examples. Yeah, we have traumatic experiences. Yes, those experiences sometimes we block out and we have to recover, and there are things we have to do. However, it's an experience. So there's a difference. It's traumatic, yes, but every experience is not traumatic.
Right.
There are some things that we learn from. And I learn from my experiences. I learn from my parents' experiences. So there are some, things that we have to learn from. That's why I'm good with A.C.E.s all the time. As soon as I see something that's an A.C.E.s example, I'm like, see, yep, there's A.C.E.s. And so the teacher also in me is saying A.C.E.s, trauma, 2 different syllables. Sorry, I'm a teacher. So I'm all for A.C.E.s. I'm all for A.C.E.s. Yes. Trauma just
I believe that that's true. The people will, it's easier for them to own that, because trauma there's a big stigma with it. Right. With the term with it, but it's a problem out there. So that's where my mission field is there. But A.C.E.s is a part of that. And like you said, I agree. Not all of the adverse childhood experiences were traumatic, because trauma is what happens in your soul. It's not the experience isn't trauma. Trauma is what happens inside you. Yeah. And some people can handle more than other people. That's, like when the ambulance comes at a plane crash, they know who to go to first. It's the people who are making no noise, because they have shut down. They are the ones that are in the most severe trauma. The ones who are crying, the ones that are, are yelling or screaming, those are in the moment. So they go to the ones that have completely shut down. So yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I want my audience to hear this, maybe they have A.C.E.s and maybe they have trauma. If they want to call it A.C.E.s, call it whatever you want. I encourage everybody,
please go and take the study, go take the survey. It's 10 questions online. And they will give you your results immediately. Stop Campaign does it. I have it on my YouTube page. I have it on my Instagram page. You can click on the link tree, click, and it's right there. I have a goal of really reaching 100,000 people. And guess what? It's really not hard when there's 3.2 million people in the world. I just want to educate people on exactly what it is. And those experiences that we lived, that we can recover. I'm pushing therapy. We don't do therapy for some odd reason. And I am encouraging others to continue to, seek therapy. That's another example of healing for me. I actually, to this day, see a therapist that I talk to, whether it's my career, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, it doesn't matter. I think, talking to someone, a professional is what's needed.
I'm a big advocate of counseling. I'm not a legal counselor, but I am a coach. But
Yeah.
I always advise people, if you need a counselor, please, by all means, I'll even give you a link to find some places that you can get them, because I was in counseling for 5 years to write my first book, and that was the best thing I ever did. I needed it, and counseling is awesome, and it's not for the weak, it is for the brave.
It is. It is. It
So
is.
you help people, you love to help people, you educate them, and you encourage them to get counseling, or any other things that you would like to share that you do to help people to help themselves?
I'm into self-care. We talked about self-care, but I am really into self-care. I post things on my Twitter like, oh my God, I just got in the car and listened to music. And listening to music is wonderful. Sitting on my porch is wonderful. Taking trips is wonderful. Sleeping is wonderful. So those are the things that we really don't think about. Like find the things that you love. Journaling. Journaling actually helps. So I encourage a lot of people to do journaling. It really just depends. There are, ways of, I'm actually going to push having a discussion, addressing your traumas, talking about them. And the reason why I say that is because it really helped me, actually learn about adverse childhood experiences and go through what I experienced. Just doing the research for me was healing. I'm just being honest with you. You know what I mean? I was able to answer questions or get my questions answered. I just talked to my aunt a couple of weeks ago, and I was asking her, okay, so let me make sure what was going on with grandma. And she was like, honestly, Torie, this was so long ago. I have blocked it out. I'm not for sure, but I'll get back to you. You know what I mean? Because we have these experiences and we block them so much to where when it's time to relive, we're not aware or we're not for sure. And we could actually help our own selves health-wise if we know exactly what it is and address those traumas. And then that way we can go and get the healing that we need because it affects your health. It affects your brain. It affects your neural system. Trust me, your whole body, stress, mental.
Preach.
Yeah, I mean, it affects so much that we have to have that information. So yeah, I have to push Clubhouse because I have people in my inbox like, when's the next one? It's like, I want to keep talking about this. I have to. This is what I want to do. So yeah, I'm going to start getting a little bit more now that it's the summer and the school year's over with. You'll see a lot more of me having these discussions on lives, on social media, doing whatever I need to do in order to get this point across because A.C.E.s is real. It's impacting us. And the crazy thing is right now, imagine going through COVID-19 with those people with adverse childhood experiences. That link is the CDC, the same website that the CDC uses for COVID-19. You can go on that same website and find information on adverse childhood experiences. And if you don't believe me, you can be a researcher like me and look it up, the CDC.gov.
Well, I would say that every kid that's alive right now has at least one ACE, and that's called COVID.
Yeah.
That was an adverse experience for everyone on the planet.
It was.
No matter how it affected you, in what way, it was adverse.
And that's the reason why I'm pairing it together to try to get to talk to, parents, teachers, educators, students, whoever I need to let them know that correlation is real. And we really need to address adverse childhood experiences now because COVID-19 needs to be added. That was a huge experience.
Yeah, it really does need to be updated. I came across another psychologist the other day, and she talked about something called unconscious trauma. And then she has the top 10 childhood traumas, and she listed some things that were ACEs and things that need to be added. I'm like, yes, we need to group all these together because so many of the things have been dismissed, like just get over that. Like, it's not a big deal. It's like, yes, it is a big deal. You can't just brush it aside. Like it's nothing. It's not nothing.
It's not.
And granted, some people are affected more deeply than others, but just because this person is inherently more resilient doesn't mean, well, that doesn't matter because now you have to get over because I'm inherently resilient. And that's, people do that. It's like, you're too sensitive. Like, there are all different kinds of people. all different kinds of personalities, different levels of empaths and sensitivities, and people who are, tough and, and them, because the world has lots of different jobs.
Right. You're right. We have to continue to get it out. My 8-year-old daughter is well aware of adverse childhood experiences. If she does not come home with the story of a young lady that she's met, or one of the students in her class whose mother has neglected her and she doesn't dress the way that she does, she definitely at the age of 8 knows exactly what adverse childhood experiences.
Yeah, you just mentioned one that's on that top 10,
Yeah.
is being different. If you don't dress like other people, you show up in a different way, or like people who just have different bills that kind of stick out and stuff that causes you to be isolated in some way. So, well, before we end here, I want to ask you one more question.
Yes, I'm ready.
What gives you the most joy in your work?
As far as being victorious?
In your A.C.E.s work that you do, what gives you the most joy in your A.C.E.s work?
Getting information and feedback from people that my message is getting across. Like, shout out to, I actually have a brand. I've been who I am all of my life, but this Be Victorious is real. People put information in my inbox like, did you see this on A.C.E.s? I'm like, oh, as an educator, oh, I'm educating you. That's awesome. You know what I mean? So getting that type of feedback from people, from family members, from strangers, it lets me know that my purpose of what I'm doing is real and it's affecting people, and it's had an impact, a positive impact on people. So that's what I love, is self-gratification of people saying, yeah, I read this article. So like, for example, I didn't know that Taraji Henson had put a post up about adverse childhood experiences. My cousin sent it to me. And then one of my followers sent me John Legends. And I was like, oh, I have to do something or say something about it, because people are becoming aware of adverse childhood experiences. Yay me. And I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep talking about it, because there are so many people that have been impacted that need to be educated on it. And we need to lead them in a direction to where they're healing and addressing their own traumas in their childhood trauma by seeking therapy or whatever they need to do to help themselves heal. Yes.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. So how can people connect with you?
I'm on social media everywhere. I am Dr. VicTORIEus on Instagram. I am Dr. VicTORIEus on YouTube. I am on Facebook. I have a Be Victorious with Dr. Torie page. I'm on Twitter as Dr. VicTORIEus, I believe, or it's Be Victorious. But when you look up Victorious, is VicTorie, because my nickname is Torie. So it's Victorious. So if you look up Victorious that way, you should be able to find me.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for being here today with me. And thank you for sharing your heart for people. And I just thank you.
Not a problem. It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. I'll talk to you in just a minute.
Okay.
So that was fantastic, wasn't it? Thank you so much for being with us today and for hearing Dr. Torie today, and take her advice. Google A.C.E.s survey, or A.C.E.s too high, or A.C.E.s quiz, and it's an acronym, A.C.E. for Adverse Childhood Experiences. And do yourself a favor and address them. And so until next time, I am Danielle Burnock from DanielleBurnock.com. Love yourself from Survive to Thrive, that lady on the internet who loves you. Mwah.